Hello my friends, welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to build a genuine dialogue between Buddhism and science, specifically quantum mechanics. I think many of you might notice, since the day I started this channel, I put all my efforts to build these bridges and the dialogues between Western and Eastern philosophy, between science and philosophy. But deep inside, I know many of you still feel skeptical about this. You might think this is just my wishful thinking, that I'm trying to build something was not even there. It's my imagination that they can have dialogue. Maybe fundamentally they might contradict each other, like people believe that religion and science, there is no way they can ever have dialogue. So this is why that I think it's a long process, and it's okay. I think I will always encourage people to have critical thinking, to have their own rationality and logic, because that's important. If we just completely surrender or give up these important qualities, we might easily fall to idealistic way of thinking. And I think that is a little bit problematic. So it's okay. Just give me some time, my friend. And in this episode, I will explain to you clearly why there is such a resonance between philosophy and science, especially between Buddhism and quantum mechanics. And now, please let me explain why the way that quantum mechanics understand reality is very similar to how Buddhism understands reality. Although you might still believe they belong to different fields, but please hear me out. So back to the time when Buddha noticed that all the phenomenon is ever-changing. There is no such thing as still. There is no such thing as permanent. Because since the day we're born, we've been through countless of transformation. Everything is changing, and we grow up, we get old, we get sickness. So there is four things, which is 生老病死. Born, get old, get sick, and death. All of this represents what? It represents the motion. It represents the ever-flowing transformation that no one can escape, right? And another thing is that, think about it psychologically, that our mood is also ever-changing. Maybe last minute still happy, and next minute you might feel sorrow. Okay, you will say, no, I'm very stable, my emotion is stable. But are you sure that back to 10 years ago, your mood is the same as how you feel right now? Nobody can guarantee that. Because our mood, our emotion are also like waves. It rises and falls. Technically, you can never be through the same waves again, because every wave is different. Every wave is rise and falling in different time, in different circumstances. There will be differences always. So based on all of this observation, that Buddha had the realization of the essence of reality, which is impermanence, is ever-changing, is ever-flowing, which that resonant with Taoism very deeply. And then let's discuss quantum mechanics. How quantum mechanics understand the world. First of all, we got to understand one thing is, the reason why we got to the stage of understanding of quantum mechanics is really relying on our development of our technology. Back then, we wouldn't really be able to zoom in to those microscopic level to see the world, to really to look, to understand the world. We cannot. But then, because we have the technology, and then we zoom in to see the microscopic world, and we were shocked, because if we zoom in that scale, we find everything is just in such dramatic transformation, dramatic motion, that is, have nothing to do with how the surface look. Like, you look at me as a person, if I'm like this, it looks still, but under the skin, if you zoom in inside of a cell, inside of a particle, you will see those motions, those activities. It's so radical, it's so dramatic. It's like giant waves rise and fall all the time. This is why that quantum mechanics, a lot of people find it is fascinating because it's so dramatic, seems even unreal. However, it's the reality. And now you might understand why that if somebody really understands Buddhism or if they really understand quantum mechanics, then the way they understand the world will be very different to most of the majority of the people. Because when they say a stone, they don't say a still thing in their hand. When they say their self, they understand themselves. They wouldn't understand a stable, a static I there. This is the radical difference, but it's all real. How we understand the reality eventually will determine everything, because it will change how you understand this material world, how you understand yourself. And this is the differences. In ancient China, Taoist philosophers, they were always being considered to be spiritual. There were countless of ancient myths about them that they are in some kind of very quiet, secret place, being through a secret spiritual process or practice, and eventually they realize all the reality, become heavenly being. I know this is just a myth, but I want to say that there is a reason that why people pursue this kind of spiritual realization, or you can say philosophical understanding of the reality. Because eventually, it just completely changes how you understand the reality. The power of this kind of worldview can never be underestimated. Okay, so today we are going to discuss actually a very interesting and deep philosophical question, which is the continuity of existence. Because when you think about it, our understanding, our experience of everything is all built based on the continuity of existence. There is a concept in Buddhism called Kshanikavada. In Chinese, we call it 刹那生灭论. Shana is a unit. It represents a very, very short period of time. Shen means born. Mie means death. Lun means a theory. So Kshanikavada means the doctrine of momentariness. This doctrine is an important philosophical doctrine in Buddhism, especially as developed by later Buddhist thinkers. Its central claim is that everything exists for only a single moment. The single moment is a unit it called ksana. Each moment arises, immediately ceases, and is followed by a new moment in an uninterrupted sequence. Well, obviously, according to this view, then nothing possesses permanent or unchanging existence. What appears to be a continuously existing person, tree, or stone is actually an endless succession of momentary arising and ceasing. Because these changes occur so rapidly, we mistakenly perceive them as the same enduring object. A common analogy is a movie. What appears to be continuous motion is actually a rapid succession of still frames, creating the illusion of continuity. For example, the flower you see now is not literally the same flower persisting unchanged. It is continuously renewing itself from moment to moment. Likewise, your body, your thoughts, and consciousness are constantly arising and passing away. Every thought exists only for a moment, so there is no permanent, unchanging self. So this is very similar to Heraclitus' famous saying. He said that you cannot step into the same river twice. Well, we discussed this earlier. If you are interested, please have a look at my previous episodes, my friend. And you can see clearly that both perspectives here, they emphasize the impermanence of phenomena and the constant nature of change. Although they express it in slightly different ways, but they are both pointing towards this reality. Okay, so how relational non-duality understand this concept of 刹那生灭论? I would say that it depends. The most important thing is how you understand the concept of 刹那, right? Because in 刹那生灭论, it suggests that there is something called 刹那. There is a continuous scale called 刹那. It rise and fall, it rise and fall, it rise and fall. But how I understand is that this so-called 刹那is just a unit. It's the same as we give it the name of second, of minute, and hour, and year. It's just a scale. And in last episode, when we discussed how we understand time, so I based on the same logic. This unit we call 刹那, it's only a concept, it's only a unit. What this 刹那生灭论 really trying to reveal is not there is something called 刹那, there is a fixed scale called 刹那, is rising and falling, or there is a substance called 刹那. That would be even more far from what you're really trying to reveal there. What really trying to reveal is that this motion is continuous, this change is continuous, this process of transformation is continuous. This is what he's trying to express here. And again, I don't against that we use the concepts, we use units. We use all sorts of units so we can describe the relational structures. But doesn't mean that we need to cling into these units, suggesting that this kind of units, they are the fundamental reality. That is something we should let go. And now let's discuss quantum mechanics. In quantum field theory, particles are constantly emerged and annihilated. Even the vacuum is not truly empty because it undergoes continuous quantum fluctuations. At the microscopic level, the universe is fundamentally dynamic. Interestingly, as modern physics probes even smaller scales, it has begun to reveal a picture of reality that is radically different from our classical intuition. In some approaches to quantum gravity, physicists have proposed the idea of quantum foam. This is not something that has been directly observed, but rather a theoretical concept introduced by John Wheeler. And it's very simple to understand this concept. It said that all the existence could undergo extremely tiny and short-lived fluctuations, with microscopic structures constantly appearing and disappearing like bubbles in a forming sea. And now you see how similar these two theories, really just so similar, almost identical. One is called the basic unit, it's called 刹那. Another one suggests the basic unit is form. But it's all suggesting that this thing just constantly changing, constantly in motion. The next 刹那 will be different to the last 刹那. The next minute of this form will be different to the last minute. The last minute this form is still there, and next minute it might be already annihilated. So yes, both of them, the 刹那生灭论 and quantum foam, both of these theories, they suggest the same fundamental insight, which is that the stable world we experience may not be as stable as it appears. This is why we always say that everything flows, because there is no such thing as unchanging. There is no stability. If you go to the fundamental level, there is no such thing as stability, because everything is constantly generating, constantly annihilating. It's all about the transformation. It's all about the motion. So how we understand this form, again, which is quite obvious, is that we understand again this so-called form is a concept. It's a unit we created so we can describe the reality. But is there such thing that actually exists as form? Is there such thing actually exists as particle? No, it's a concept. Because if we zoom in, we will find more so-called form. We will find so-called more particles. It will be an endless process, because fundamentally, the only thing really truly exists eternally is the motion itself. All the units, it all depends on our, how we see the reality. It's about our angle and our experiential threshold. Depends on our angle and threshold, we experience different reality. We see it in microscopic level or macroscopic level. We see different reality, and we give it units to name it. But doesn't mean that there are such thing as a big form or small form. The fundamental is only one thing, is the motion, is the flow. So yeah, I guess this is truly the tricky part, is that we use words to describe something, to point towards the moon that actually we cannot really express by the words, by the concept. Because the concept is concept, but the reality is something different than the concept in our mind. If we want to understand the reality, it's not like we cannot use concept, but we need to understand the reality is beyond the concepts. This is probably the most difficult part, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's all. That's all about this resonance between quantum mechanics and Buddhism. And honestly, I think in every skill, every level, they resonance perfectly. And I wouldn't be surprised that the entire theory of quantum mechanics is just inspired by Buddhism, or let's say Indian philosophy, and they say it out in a different level, in a different so-called field of language, which is the field of science. But I don't see them like as, dualistic. I don't see them as something separate. I think they just reveal the same reality in so much different level. And again, another question I know that many friends already have in my mind. Am I already stand with Buddhism? So I already choose side. And the answer is the same as in last episode I expressed. I'm not choosing side. I'm just building the bridge that I shouldn't even build because there is no gaps. But the thing is that in mind, we already think that they are separate things. So I have to build this even unnecessary bridge again and again because there is an unnecessary gap. So yeah, but this is the goal for this channel in so many levels that this is my goal. And I say that really, I think what's really important is that you got to keep an open heart, a humble heart. A humble heart will be very important. And then you will see that you learn so many things through different traditions. So for example, me, what I learned from Buddhism, I'd say something incredibly important for my personal development, or let's say the spiritual aspect, which is really is about letting go of the attachment, really, especially the attachment of I. And all this topic in the future we will discuss all in detail. Now I just want to build a solid foundation. I don't want people feel like I just talking about so-called like chicken soup, because it's not chicken soup. It's a complete philosophy that we can use it to understand the whole existence. So I don't want to lack any important aspect in this philosophy. That's why we talk about matter, we're talking about physics, and we're talking about philosophy. All the aspects have to be involved. So this is what I learned from Buddhism. Mainly is about train my mind to let go of attachment. And these attachments are overwhelming in this world, in the reality that we live in the daily life. We all face attachment, especially the attachment of I, right? Especially when you believe that, you think that you're really like this, and you really believe that you cannot let go of certain attachment. That's the time I think is critical. Because if you understand your true nature is the ocean, it's not the wave, then you can let go of the wave. But if you identify yourself with the waves, then you probably will forever on that wave that you don't even want. There are waves that are beautiful, the beautiful moment, the pleasant moment, love, and all of these things. They are great, but there are certain waves you don't want to identify with them. That's the time you need the wisdom of letting go of the attachment. And think about how incredibly important this time to understand there is no permanent nature of existence. If you know that, is there anything that you cannot let go, really? Is there any permanent things that you cannot be changed, you cannot let go? No, because there is no such thing. And also about Taoism, it teach me how to understand reality, really. Fundamentally, it teach me the whole worldview since I was a child. Because in Taoism, it's all about harmony, that you align with the flow of nature in a harmonious way. And that is happiness, that is peace, that is the harmony, that is the highest goal. And when we align with nature, align with this harmonious flow, you will find everything will become really smooth, everything become very peaceful, and a lot of unnecessary struggle, unnecessary suffering will leave you alone, literally leave you alone. And imagine if we can do this in a society, then we can definitely avoid a lot of trouble and suffering that caused by our own mental states, that we don't want to align with the nature, we against the nature, we challenge the nature, we damage the nature, we take advantage of this planet too far, way too far, that we suffering the consequences. But if we really have the spirit to align with the law of nature, to align with the natural flow, then none of this would happen. So, well, based on Buddhism, there is no something unchanging. So we still got chance. Even the last minute of the existence of this planet, we still have chance to change this reality, because there is no something as already fixed, is already doomed. There is no such thing. All of us, as individual, as the whole society, as humanity, we can always make the transcendence happen anytime if we really want it to happen. And what I learned from Hinduism is something truly beautiful and very deep, because it's more emotionally. It's not. It's less rationally. It's more emotionally. It's that we are one, really. It's as simple as that. We are one, and we are not divided. We are not divided from the true reality of oneness. We're all in this giant network. It's called relationship. And we shouldn't separate one another. We shouldn't have hatreds and biases towards one another. And this kind of understanding eventually is more like, it moves you. It's not about it persuade you in a rational way, but it moves you by its own light of reality, and then you change. You change that, you find that, yeah, there is no reason to not love. There is no reason to not be compassionate. And there is no reason to feel so sad about existence, because the true nature of existence is forever bliss. If you can feel this flow of nature, this Tao, you can feel this so-called Brahman, you can feel this Shunyata with full of possibility, then what is the reason for you to feel so depressed and so hopeless? None. Because I think when you understand all these different aspects, that is already liberation. Although we still got a long way to go for our life, people are still young, some people are not that young, but still, we have a long way to go. But doesn't mean that we cannot enjoy the liberated mind and live in a liberated mindset in this world. And yeah, essentially that is the goal for this channel. This is also one of the reasons I love making this channel. Of course, I would have to figure it out to make this channel be more sustainable. I need to also earn money by myself. But at the same time, no matter what, I wouldn't stop updating this channel, because for me, this is my odyssey. This is my journey for the spiritual realization. And I love to walk this journey with all of you. It's important, because essentially one day you will find out that what really can make you liberated is only inside of your mind. It's only something if you can transform your way of thinking, you can get the liberation. So yeah, let's seek the answer from within, at the same time appreciate the beautiful manifestation of the entire universe. Thank you so much, my friend, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.